Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, a very warm welcome to you. I appreciate you for stopping and clicking on this video, whatever made you do it. Thank you. I would ask that you consider subscribing. I do post weekly content. I try to post 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My channel is all about relationships, reactions, and realism. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, definitely go ahead, hit the red button down below. I got a lot of requests to do another Mahogany Pink reaction video. You know your girl got your back. I always got you. I love my subscribers. You request it and I got you. So let's get into this video.
Ever since you were a little girl, you've been seeing images of black love on the TV screen that looked like this, or this, or this. But in reality, black love has always looked a little more like this.
Extra aggressive.
Are you kidding me?
You are the fire!
Investigators say after killing Kenyatta, O'Neill brutally murdered his 9-year-old daughter, Ranivia, and tried to stab to death his 8-year-old son, also named Ronnie, before setting him and the house on fire.
In case you didn't know, sociologists that have studied the decline and dysfunction of the Black American family are for the most part in agreement. The model of exclusive black love, that is to say a culture where black people in America will only make themselves romantically available to other black people in America, is unsustainable. Specifically, black women's collective decision to make themselves exclusively available to black men is unsustainable. Why? Well, short answer, there aren't enough marriageable hetero black men to meet the demand of marriageable hetero black women. Most experts name mass incarceration as the leading cause, but whatever you think the issue is, the fact remains that the community has a shortage of gainfully employed black men who can support a family and are looking to marry a black woman, short by about several million in fact, and this is causing a host of problems. In his book The Racial Hierarchy, evolutionary psychologist C. Paul Grandison explains that when you have a sex ratio imbalance like the one that black America has, specifically one that favors the men, the result is that the men become aggressively and deceptively hyper-competitive for short-term sexual relationships. They stop looking for love or marriage, and they're definitely not monogamous. Essentially, they try to build a harem for themselves. Because they have this power, they're able to set the terms of relationships, and naturally, they choose terms that are in their favor, ones that get them the most commitment from a woman while offering the least in return. This changes the behavior of the women looking for a committed partner, and they become much more sexually active earlier in the relationship in an effort to try to lock down a partner. Additionally, a woman may see a man who's already in a committed relationship.
Whoa, she is just throwing a lot of stuff at us right now. So I wanted to pause. In the last video that I did with Mahogany Pink, I got the feeling that she has a background in psychology or something. She definitely is coming with, it sounds like, statistics, stuff that she's read. This isn't just things that she's making up. Sis really sounds like she is equipped for the argument. I know sometimes as women we can go off of our feelings, and I did get that comment a lot that we operate in emotions, but it sounds to me like this is somebody who's educated. They are specifically educated on this topic in particular. If you refer to the video that I did before, a lot of the things that she talked about in that video, she's also talking about here. So far, I'm not surprised by anything she's saying, but let's just get back to the video.
Try to take that man for herself out of desperation. Grandison also goes on to say that these men who are spoiled with more options than they should have take a longer time to commit to their partners, express more dissatisfaction with their partners, are more likely to cheat on their partners, and more likely to abandon their partners. He says that he believes that there would be fewer divorces and fewer illegitimate children if the sex ratio imbalance wasn't so great because, well, the men would be more loyal. And in part because of that imbalance, we now have a culture culture that permits, maybe even encourages, black men to use their status as marriageable, i.e. a black man with a job who isn't in jail, as leverage for as many sexual partners as he can get. And if you try to quote-unquote compete for these men, you'll likely find yourself locked into extended periods of situationships, entanglements, and sneaky links as friends with benefits, or worse, permanent placeholder girlfriends, commonly known as wifeys. In other words, very little return on your investment. And yet, you are being pitched black love by black media and the conscious community like it's the answer to all of your problems, like it's the answer to all of the community's problems. All black men and women need to do is come together and restore the black nuclear family. Stop this fighting on the internet and problem solved. We're unstoppable. But instead of addressing what experts have identified as the core issues destroying black families, like male unemployment and underemployment,
I like that she's referencing expert research. It's not just something that she's whipping up out of thin air. There's actually experts who have studied this subject. That definitely gives her a foundation for this argument.
The high crime rates amongst black males that lead to the sex ratio imbalance, the community has decided that you are the actual problem. You say that you can't find a good black man. They say that you're overlooking them for the thugs and players. You say that you're not attracted to thugs and you've never dated one. They say that good.
I just want to say, the argument that I can't find a good black man, and then somebody says, well, like a man will say back to you that you're just not good at picking good men. I kind of believe that argument because I have a lot of, personally in my world, I can't speak for everybody, but I definitely have a lot of, or have had, black girlfriends in the past who just seem to be attracted to the good-for-nothing ninjas. You know what I'm talking about. And it comes off as self-hating when you go after men who you know are no good for you, you know treat you wrong. And that's just a lot of women in general. That's not even just black women. That's women in general. Typically women like the bad boy. They don't like the nice guy or the good guy. They want what's not good for them. That might be fun when you're young and you have time to waste, for a year or two to, have a fuck boy or whatever. But beyond that, your standards should change. And if they don't, then you kind of end up in this never-ending loop of just dealing with men who are no good for you.
Men find you to be too masculine. You say you've never had a problem attracting men, just getting commitment and monogamy out of them. They'll say you didn't earn it, or that high value men have the right to exercise their options. You'll explain that they aren't that high value because you're going more than 50-50 on everything. They'll say that your standards are unrealistic. You say that you commonly date men who don't meet your standards. They'll say that you need to choose better. You'll say there isn't better to choose from, and here we go back and forth in an endless circle jerk with no one acknowledging the real issues. And why won't they do it? Why won't they simply say that the men aren't playing their part in the institution of black love as protectors and providers, and they're the ones who need to alter their behavior? Well, because admission of failure on their part would be giving you permission to leave them. And a society, however dysfunctional, can survive with very few men, but a society without enough women will crumble. So, as a community, we've decided that come hell or high water, we are going to keep these black women on the hook, waiting and praying and competing for that good black man who will come into their lives and build a family, despite all evidence that this will happen for very few of you. Don't get me wrong, there are some very good black men out there. Hell, there are some even great men out there who are black, and there are some dusty black women, but numbers don't lie. Here's the math. You already outnumber black men, and for a bunch of reasons, more than half of them will never marry anyone. Of those that remain, almost a quarter of them will marry women who are not black. Of the men left, 73% cannot financially support a household alone, and you will have to work. And due to the high...
She's giving you statistics. This is not rooted in emotion. She is giving facts. These are verifiable facts that you can look up from reliable sources.
of infidelity, domestic violence, and financial instability, 42% of these marriages will ultimately fail. Less than a quarter of you who get married will be in marriages where your husband earns more money than you. Less than 8% of those of you who get married to Black men will have the luxury of not having to work at all. In fact, most high-earning Black men remain bachelors or marry out of their race. So for all of you ladies with hypergamous, rich Black girl fantasies, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's not likely going to happen, particularly for the more richly melanated sisters and the sisters with the West African body types and the sisters with previous children. Your odds are much worse. But hey, if you believe that you're going to be in that small minority, the 13% of Black women overall who are in hypergamous Black marriages, and the even smaller percent who have the luxury of being able to stay at home and raise their children, and you want to bet your future on that belief, go right ahead. I can't stop you, but understand that you are the one that's taking on all of the risk, because if you choose wrong and it doesn't work out and you're left with a couple of kids on your arm, you will be the ire of the community, the single mom, aka the woman who didn't choose better, aka the poster girl for everything that's wrong with the Black community, and you would have decreased your chances of finding another suitable life partner by half. Ask yourself, why would you make such an important life decision knowing that the odds are stacked so tall against you? Well, this pipe dream has been pushed on you since birth. Black love is almost exclusively sold to Black women. Not only is it the thing that you're supposed to want more than anything else in the world, it's your duty to pursue it. A Black woman who marries outside of her race is a bedwench, and the hostility towards her comes from both Black men and other Black women. Why from Black men? Well, frankly, they don't like the sexual competition, and they never thought you could go anywhere else. Part of Black men's power in this relationship dynamic is the belief that there's nowhere else for you to go, and for all of that talk about how you're going to start dating other men, your feet haven't moved an inch, so they've been calling your bluff. But when they see you, the educated, middle and upper class Black women, their only real hope to restore this community, when they see you considering going elsewhere, that's when their feathers get a little ruffled. And other Black women don't want to hear that you're looking at other races of men either, even though it's less marital competition for them, because misery loves company. Who's going to be there to share in the collective trauma bonding on the topic of unfaithful men, download dusties, abusers, and hypergamous dudes who believe that they're the prize? They don't want to be alone caping for a lost cause, and if they're going to throw their legacy and their future away for a fantasy, they need to know that other women are doing the same, otherwise the sacrifice will not have been worth it. It's funny though, Black men don't seem to have this visceral...
Woo! Sis is going in. I mean, this stuff is like deep. This Black love mentality is making it so a lot of Black women stay single because they've never thought about dating outside of their race, or they've never entertained the idea because there's this Black love is put on such a pedestal. I can remember growing up in high school and there was this dark-skinned Black girl who, for whatever reason, she just gravitated towards white guys. Like, that was her thing. She just didn't like the Black guys at my school and she would date white. And the comments that the Black girls would make about her were just crazy. Like, the bedwench thing, that's like a real thing because she's like betraying that Black love ideology, and she used to get bullied for it and just basically ostracized by Black girls at school because she didn't, for whatever reason, like to date she didn't like to date Black guys. And there's a couple more examples of that I can think of people in my life. If you guys have any examples of this, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your own personal stories, but this is like really a thing.
Reaction to the idea of other Black men in interracial relationships. Their socialization is much different from yours. Don't get it twisted. It's a hustle. Getting you to believe in Black love ensures their survival while they can go out and be with whomever they want to be with. In fact, most of the time, they seem to believe that they don't need you to create Black children. Their seed is so strong that they can make a Black family all by themselves. Now, if this is a Black child, then two can play that game. Now, let me be clear, only a black woman can create this and this and this. But if black men are determined to eugenicize themselves via colorism and externalized self-hatred, there is no reason for you to put your legacy on the line trying to stop them. They've already dubbed biracial black women as your suitable replacement, and you're not going to be able to stop the incoming buffer race of mixed children that black men are currently creating from enjoying light-skinned privilege that unambiguously black children will not take part in. So why try? For those of you who want to have children of your own, your first priority needs to be to give them a father who can protect them and provide for them. And so many black women ignore this basic requirement.
I'm really glad that she showed Barack Obama and Michelle, because Barack Obama is mixed. He's half white and he's half black. And that's a whole different conversation about what's considered black and all this. He chose to marry black because he identifies as a black man and he wanted a black woman to do life with. Like he talks about this in a couple of places in his he talks about this in a book. He also talks about it in, I think, a documentary or a podcast, some audio that I've heard, where he's talking about how him and Michelle came to be and like what that looks like for his future as the president. And he knew that he could either choose a white woman or he could choose Michelle. And he chose her in part because she was black. And that's the side he was committed to, the image of a strong, intelligent, capable black family as the first family when he saw himself in the future as the president of the United States. I said all that to say, basically, I'm a fan of Barack for a million reasons, but that in particular is one of my favorite things about him. Moving on.
Requirement. So many black women watch their children walk to school in unsafe neighborhoods and go to underserved public schools and spend their young adulthood running the gauntlet trying to escape poverty. And for what? For black love. For a BBC. Is that what you're going to tell your kids their future was worth? Black men are not sacrificing bachelorhood or snow bunnies so that you can feel protected. They have community phalluses and they don't feel a duty to exclusively see you. They don't hold you as a preference among the women that they date. They don't feel like they owe you anything. No manner of shaming them and telling them that they don't like women who look like their mama is going to get them to change course. They don't see you like they see their mama, and if they did, it wouldn't help. Black men's war against the single mother is evidence of a resentment toward the very women who birthed them and raised them alone. They're now looking towards other women that they see as more valuable who aren't so frequently abandoned.
Never let anyone come in between me and you. I never let anyone come in between you and me.
But trust me, you are not losing out on anything. Black men have absolutely no history of protecting women. Not on the coast of West Africa 400 years ago, not on the Underground Railroad 200 years ago, not during Jim Crow 100 years ago, and not during the crack boom 50 years ago. They have not ever adequately provided for their families either. And at a time where men of other communities are building and expanding and going to the freaking moon, black men are in chat rooms complaining about how you won't submit to them, while other men are trying to attain masculinity through achievement, wanting to compete with other men and conquer other men.
Ouch! Sis! Don't hurt him!
Black men just want to conquer you. They're obsessed with your submission, possibly because it helps them forget that there are other men who are subjugating them. They blame their ineptitude on feminism, welfare, and white supremacy, and conclude that the solution to this is to chase down women of other races to teach you a lesson. Yet somehow they still achieve similar or worse results with these same women. All those reasons are garbage. The truth is there's a Eurocentric standard of beauty in this world, and your men have bought into it hook, line, and sinker.
Beauty is not subjective. That's why we have the golden ratio, the Fibonacci equation. You can look at facial symmetry and see that beautiful people, you can map their facial structure, and it goes to a mathematical calculation.
Oh yeah.
Beauty is universal. And the thing is, we're talking about black women. They are on the opposite end of the spectrum on all ranks.
I am still wondering why Kevin Samuels said that. When I heard because he was on I think it was a podcast. He was on there, he was talking about the scale that he uses to rate women with that, like the number, how he asked them, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? You can't use 7. He always uses that when he asks women like where they put themselves. And he was basically trying to say that Black women are not as beautiful as women of other races. That's what he said in a nutshell. And as he was saying it, I was hoping that he was going to correct himself or maybe add some clarification to what he meant. It was appalling, the gall that this man had to be saying that about his own community of women. It didn't make any sense to me. As a Black woman, it made me feel unappreciated. It made me feel disregarded, and it made me feel some type of way. Like, is this how a lot of y'all out there be thinking about us? You really think that other races just generally look better than us? So why is it then, if other races look so much better than us, why are they trying to make themselves look more like us? That's the question that always comes to my mind. But anyway.
Doesn't this sound strangely similar to the pseudoscientists who argue that the African skull is more similar to an ape and that Black people naturally have lower IQs? But this is coming from supposedly your men in 2021. After all that marching and protesting you all did for them, they won't even protect your image. This is how they see you, as practically untouchables, quick to remind you that you're not anyone's first choice, and while casually forgetting that they're not anyone's first choice either except yours, and yet so many of them still manage to successfully find partners elsewhere. In fact, it's your overt worship of their image that raises their desirability factor amongst other women, because you're the one whose taste everyone else rips off. And nothing, not Black men's gaslighting or colorism denying, not the pick-me's bullying or the pro-Black rallying should cause you to forget that your men are the most disloyal men on the face of the earth. And they say that that's your fault. Maybe it is. The signs have been there for a long time. These men were never going to make a real effort toward building a strong Black community. It's no secret. You know what building looks like from men because you can see men in other communities doing it. Building looks like sitting in the library until you get kicked out at closing time. It looks like 3 jobs and 100-hour work weeks. It looks like starting that business your senior year of college. It looks like sacrificing anything and everything for your family. It looks like what your mothers did for you, which is why Goldman Sachs saw you as the better community investment. And many of you are still unwilling to admit to yourself that your men will never do this for you. You're willing to let the cobwebs form in your womb, waiting for your Black counterpart to show up because it's so difficult for many of you to accept, especially the well-off and educated sisters, that your Black male counterpart does not exist. Because no one ever required that they be loyal to you, because you prioritized Black love over all other things, over anything that was in your best interest. And the result is men who feel no incentive to prioritize you because your loyalty was a guaranteed outcome. In eliminating the price of your love to Black men, you've eliminated all of its value as well. If you, as Black women, had any concept of self-preservation, you would recognize that you are underappreciated and undervalued by your own men, and that their very public rejection of you diminishes your desirability in the eyes of others. And if there is any hope for happiness for Black women and their future children, different choices in men are necessary. I will not lie to you, it's unlikely that there will be another group of men who will elevate your image above their own women, but it doesn't doesn't matter, because as it stands right now, even with black women being supposedly everyone's last choice, there are more non-black men in this country interested in being with you than there are black women in the total population. Perks of being such a small minority. And going where you can build a stable family isn't a betrayal of the black community. Black men have been talking black and sleeping white for almost a century, and if your uterus is the only tool the community has left to rebuild itself, then it's already over. Course correction is about realizing when you've been taken for a ride and switching gears as soon as you can. To do nothing at this point would make you a two-time loser. Do what the men did, but do it better. Choose better. Or go unchosen. I'm Mahogany Pink, and I teach black women the shadow sides of black men and themselves so they feel empowered to work through their baggage, level up, and rest in their femininity.
There was a lot to digest in this video. Let's talk about it down below. This is why I'm an advocate for black women marrying African men. If you want a black man, sis, you really want your husband to be black. You want to, you want your children to be black. You are embracing your blackness. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I 100% am in support of it. My husband is Nigerian, and what I will tell you about Africans in general, the whole African diaspora, African men, they are hardworking. They are family oriented. They are on their purpose. And there are some other issues. There are some other issues that, there's cultural differences, of course. But if you're looking for a hardworking, overall decent human being, and he has to be black, look at the continent of Africa, okay? Especially, obviously, I have a bias towards Nigerian men, but they are, don't get me wrong, men are men everywhere you go. But if you want to just widen your pool of opportunity, definitely look at Africa. I've met a couple of women here in Atlanta who move over to Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Togo, Cameroon after they find a man and he's like, hey, I'm living over here, you coming or what? And they really move to Africa to be with these men, or they meet them here and then they go back to their country with them, because it's like, what business do I have staying here? There's a lot of foolery going on between men and women. The dynamics have completely changed over the past 50 years and things are just chaotic. So if you're looking for some stability, I would definitely say cross the Atlantic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.